I want to say Street Fighter Five. I'm thinking Street Fighter Five and Injustice Two. Actually, I might want to go back to Injustice One. I'm gonna say Injustice Two and Street Fighter Five. I have some honorable mentions. Um, Doctor Fate versus like Red Hood. I remember being kind of an issue for me. Fang versus Cammy, but I think I'm gonna have to go with a recent discovery. Guilty Gear Strive is still hot. I haven't been the biggest Guilty Gear player. Like this is the most I put into Guilty Gear like at any point. Probably got like 200 hours in, I guess now. Foss versus Axel. Foss versus Axel is like it's one of those matchups where you just can't do anything. Like you're literally just on the screen just to look at yourself get hit, and in hopes of doing something to your opponent. I mean, you have moves, but they rarely work. You can press buttons, but usually you'll get beat. You can jump in the air, but usually you get anti-air it. So yeah, you just kind of look at yourself just getting demolished on the screen as you just start to cry a little bit on the inside. Ramlethal is also a fairly hard matchup for Foss. Like it's to me, I feel like one of the hardest matchups I've labbed it. Like people be like, "Well, just go lab it." Like I'm one of those people when I find something that's giving me trouble, I go and practice it. I go and lab it. I've labbed a lot of stuff. I know this game is early still now, but every scenario that's been giving me trouble, I went to the lab and recreated it, and it's just like, man, some of these things are really rough. But I think I'm gonna have to give it to Foss versus Axel. It's just like, man, like he's a zoner. Like that's what he is. I don't know. I'm still not too sure what Foss is supposed to be. Like is he supposed to be like a zoner slash mix item character? I don't know what they really were trying to do with
he's
the
supposed to be,
but Axel is just like that match is really hard. If I had to put a number on it, if I said like two evenly matched up players, Foss versus Axel, I'm gonna say that match has to be at least a 7-3 in Axel's favor. And I mean, if you play it like at the most optimal, maybe 6-4. But man, that match is so hard. You can't do anything. And the problem with Foss is a lot of his moves have like extended hurt boxes. Not only just that, but like the startup on some of his moves, like his 6H is like his farthest reaching move. But by the time you get it out, you're gonna get slapped in the face with a sickle. So I think I'm gonna have to give it to this recent game, man. Foss versus Axel, man. It's just like, man, Foss has some decent matchups, but that one right there in particular is really rough. You have to get the smallest window of opportunity. And once you see it, you have to capitalize on it immediately. If you don't, you're gonna get zoned out. You're gonna get rinsing, you're gonna get 5P, you're gonna get it's everything. 2K, 2S, everything's coming your way. And there's little you can do to stop it. Maybe 6P, you can like hit some of Axel's extended hurt boxes, but any chance you get to capitalize on getting in on Axel, you gotta take it. If you don't, you're gonna be sitting across the screen just waiting for the next match. So I'm gonna have to say Foss versus Axel.
For me, like the matchup that I think is the worst, I would say it's also in Guilty Gear. And feel free to disagree if any of you guys disagree with me, but I would say this is just my opinion. Anji Mito versus basically everybody else in the cast. I think the problem with Anji is, and I played with them in previous games, and so I have a certain opinion about the way that they've even done Anji in Guilty Gear Strive in the first place. But they're just some of his moves just seem like they're like in most situations. It comes down to guessing. It's basically a guessing game, especially when it is quarter circle forward and hard slash. With the extenders at the end, he either has the kick extender where he jumps forward, which to me always seems like a waste in this game because you only get the extenders if you hit them or they block the move. So if you whiff the move, you don't get any of the extenders. So for instance, if you whiff on the quarter circle forward hard slash, you can't use that kick thing, which makes him hop forward a little bit. So it's almost, to me, it seems kind of useless. It seems kind of, I mean, the only use I've found for that move is like, okay, you do the move, they block it, and then he jumps forward, and then you maybe go for a grab or something like that if they're too defensive. But if they decide to like start mashing, like chances are, 9 times out of 10, you're just gonna get just gonna get hurt. So I think like some of the more annoying characters I've played, I think as Anji has been like against characters like Axel, Axel and what is it? Ino. Specifically, like the reason why is because Anji has like an anti-air move, which in old like I'd hate to even like be that guy, but in older games he had an anti-air move where he would jump and he would grab you, and like he was like, oh, that you're basically being punished for jumping or even being caught in the air. In this game, it's a move that can be blocked, which I don't really appreciate too much. It's just there's so many, like Anji has so many detriments because he's basically a gimmick-based character. He's like a gimmicky rushdown character. And basically all anybody really has to do is just guess right. And you're in a really bad spot. Like if somebody guesses right and they guess, okay, he's going to do the overhead, which is like it's a pretty good move to do because like, as far as I know, like unless you're using meter like religiously, then you're not going to be able to get anything really off of the other two ones, which is like one where he trips you or the one where he jumps in the air and throws the fan at you. Like at least with the overhead, like it bounces them. You can do the quarter circle forward the quarter circle forward slash. It does the aerial. You might be able to do like something after that, but then of course, even to do something after that, you're gonna have to use meter for that. Like he's very meter dependent, and it seems he's more meter dependent than almost to me. It seems like most of the other characters in the game. Like you have to be constantly using your tension gauge in order to get a leg up. Otherwise, you're gonna be in big trouble. So that's why I say like Anji versus basically everybody else in the cast, because it just even like in terms of like your overdrives, right? Like his one overdrive, his counter overdrive is number one. It's an awkward input, like for a counter. I think it's an extremely awkward input for a counter, which is like half circle back forward and slash for a counter. You know what I mean? Like it just seems a little like you would have to be from my estimation, you'd have to be borderline psychic in order to be able to hit somebody with that. And if that's the case, I don't see any point in using it, because I don't feel like you should have to be like, a mind reader and basically in order to hit somebody with a counter like that, I don't know. And then of course, if you don't land it, you just used a bunch of tension and nothing happened. And then of course, it doesn't course correct either. So if somebody is jumping over you and they jump to the other side and they punch you and you're facing the opposite direction, you're going off over here and they're like just standing there looking at you like you're a moron. So yeah, I would say, in my opinion, the worst matchup is Anji Mito versus basically everybody else in Guilty Gear Strive.